Welcome to the Reds Reviews podcast, brought to you in part by BossAction.com. Right now there is a promo for $3 per head for 3 weeks. If you go check them out right now at BossAction.com, you'll find that promo. It is a premium promo and it gives you everything on the plate that they offer. You get to try it for a full 3 weeks at $3 per head. Let's get on with the Red Show. Yo, what's going on, guys? How are you? This is Red. So it is that time of the week again, and we're going to cover the NBA, the MLB, and we're going to talk about some of the teams that won in the NFL draft, just to be looking at what is probably going to happen when the new season does start. But it is a little bit early to be, speculating on the NFL. All right, so let's look at the NBA. Western Conference is ridiculously strong. I don't know. I mean, I know the 76ers and the Nets on the East side are going to be very, very good opponents for whatever does end up being brought across, the U.S. to go and fight, right? But here's the thing. The Jazz and the Suns by themselves are, again, I mentioned them previously in another podcast. The Suns and the Jazz are both very hungry. The Jazz are a very scrappy team as the way that they play. Suns play offensively very well. They always have. I think that overall it's going to be between them and probably the 76ers in the final. I don't know. I know that the Nets are a great team. I know that they have picked up all these different players that have made them a super team, but they all have to stay healthy in order for it to be something, and they also have to play together. And that's a major thing when it comes to, obviously, team sports, is that you can have a bunch of superstars if they don't play well together, which we learned from the Lakers in the first year that they drafted LeBron. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. So we're looking at this in the perspective of what depth can a team have and how is it going to play out. And I honestly think that the West side is definitely better in depth, and I think that we're going to see some really, really good games in the playoffs that are starting relatively soon here, like next week. Probably by the time you guys listen to this, it'll be around that time. So, it's a huge thing to be this time of the year, as well as the fact that, I guess in Florida, right, they've been having attendance again. People are allowed to go to games again. And thank God for that, because that's the biggest, we all remember as a kid when we would go to, different sporting events or games or any of those kinds of things, and we'd have the ability to go with our family, go with our friends, do whatever, get rowdy, and enjoy a sports event. So the fact that those are returning with in-person events and they're not trying to just stay, virtual, weird, crowd added sounds and whatever else they were trying to gimmick. During the whole COVID lockdown, shutdown, malarkey. In general, it's they got it done, and I will forever be grateful for the NBA for being the ones that ended up pushing it into a format that was sustainable through and first of all, through all the other leagues that are out there. So again, it is one thing to look at that in perspective, but it's also another thing to be looking at what we're going to be able to return to a normalcy effect in the future, and as things change and vaccines are administered or states become more aware of the actual dangers that are prevalent or not prevalent or any of that, and the data is coming in and it's looking good. So moving on to the MLB. I see a very strong East Coast, as it always is. The MLB is generally an East Coast thing, outside of the Dodgers, outside of the Oakland A's, and it's an East Coast dominated league right now, and it's been for years. And also too, I've mentioned it in every single podcast I think I've ever talked about it. Baseball is one of my least favorite things to book. It's one of my least favorite times to book, just considering the fact that it does offer trends that are pretty strong, and it gives the average bettor. Most grinders play baseball for this reason. The average bettor can pick up on those trends and actually make money against you. Whereas in the NFL, the college football, even the college basketball, NBA, those trends are generally broken pretty quickly if there is something going on. And so, keep this in mind, that just because the NBA playoffs are here, there's still a lot of baseball going on a daily basis,
where a player can come in and actually make a little bit of money off of you if you're not careful on your limits. But that being said, I still offer it. I offer everything, and I do make sure that my players are aware of anything that I'm trying to do, which is one of the new things that I've been trying to add to my player base, is the idea that I want to start giving incentives to my players for being with me. I want to generate a bit of loyalty with them and create an environment of possible referrals, right? I had mentioned some of the grow your business stuff in a couple of previous podcasts, and I'm trying to actually apply that in my business model to make sure that it works. And it is so far. As far as, me having the site up where I have a sign-up sheet and I can see referrals come in and just give them an account and, ask them to deposit via APS. That isn't quite built yet, but it is in the works, and it will be something that I'm going to be able to use. I also was just on the inside line, just to give you guys a heads up on what's coming, because this is sponsored by a company. They told me that there is going to be a new reporting interface that is going to be released very shortly. This will be to a select few agents, and I think that it's going to be really well done. I have only seen a couple of snapshots of what it looks like or how it functions or any of that, but it is entirely built with the mobile interface in mind, and that's the important part. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been doing this a long time, and I've actually learned a lot from over the years of being on a computer and having to go home and check my numbers. And then even before that, it was a notebook that I used to keep everything in, and having a mobile interface now that I can use on my iPad or my phone. Most of the time it's on my phone. I just, to update a player, let it, give somebody else a credit, do something with a limit, make any kind of contact with anybody that I need to. It's always on my phone, and I'm on the go, and I'm doing stuff. So it's not having it come from that perspective of a completely mobile interface is the most important part about all this, and I'm hoping that it is as functional and easy as they say. So looking at that in perspective, we're going to have a whole new interface very soon, and it's going to be something great. One of the other things too, since this is kind of the time where people are available to be switching it up and doing some different stuff, I wanted to talk a bit about referrals, not from the player perspective, like my players going and getting me a guy or something like that. I actually mean having buddies in the industry. I'd mentioned before that I resell to some guys, right? Like I give them a site where they have, they get the site through me, and then I charge them a specific amount, and I just recently set that up. It was one of the tools that was released a couple of months ago, and it's worked very well for me, and I really enjoy it. Secondly on that is also just having friends in the business that you refer, and this company actually gives you a pretty good bonus on that. I mean, there's like $100 sign-up bonus for any new guys that come along, but there's also a 15% bonus for 12 months that is available if you do bring a new business to the company. And that's important because I brought a guy about 6 months ago that's kind of been slow to get going, but he's actually brought all of his players over. And once football gets here, I still get about 3 or 4 months of, high season head counts and different things like that. So I should be getting 15% per month of his deposits, and that's a huge kind of thing to be able to have as far as free cash. Some weeks, if the guy ends up with however many heads he's got, I think he's got like 35 now. And getting that kind of cash in my account every month is actually a nice little perk there. So if you do know anybody in the business, possibly look at it. And I'm just saying that from the perspective of being able to put a little bit of cash in your pocket after or before even football gets here. It's easier to move during this time, and everybody knows that. When you have lesser heads and people aren't playing every day, and you don't have to worry about a site switch or password for this guy, that guy, whatever. So if you do have anybody in the business, I recommend just doing it. Because this is about, what this podcast with me, Red, is supposed to be about is making a little bit of extra money and understanding the demographic and business that we live in. At least I live in. And for the new guy out there that's just getting into this, there are several ways in order to get your name out there, do all the different business growth opportunities, and make this something that actually can become. It takes a little bit of time and a little bit of effort, but once you're there, the effort goes substantially down. and the profits go substantially up. So if you're out there grinding and you're trying to do it, I support that. So let's talk a little bit about what the NFL is going to look like real quick, outside of all the other software changes and things that are coming. I know that like the Jags picked up the guy from Clemson. I think it was Wallace or something like that. So that was a first round pick, first round. Also, there's a couple other guys that are going to be notable to watch. The Bengals picked up a new receiver that's going to be amazing. So did actually the Dolphins. So I think, as far as the teams that struggled on any kind of, the Dolphins really didn't, because they had Landry and a couple other guys last year that were pretty good. But at the same time, having fresh blood in the water for them to learn and carry on the legacy is something that that basically, you're going to watch these NFL teams over the next couple of years that have been kind of historically bad for the last 3 or 4 to do really well this 2021-2022 season. Like, I'm almost 100% sure that as the future rolls in, we're going to see some dramatic shifts. Now, I'm not saying that the Brady, Tampa Bay thing is going to be a one-time thing. They might win again next year, but I know that they're going to have some really stiff competition when it comes to a lot of the people on the East Coast. I'm hoping that the Cowboys definitely do better this year than they have over the last couple of years, because we kind of need them to do good. If they don't, a lot of people lose interest in the NFL. It's just there's some bandwagoners that have kind of left and gone over to different teams, and because of this, that, the other, and it is what it is. But at the same time, here we are, right? Like, so I want the Cowboys to do good this year, only because of the fact that we need a central heartland team, other than like the Texans, who are kind of good, maybe do good, hopefully do good, but we never know. There's such a heartbreaker team. You look at the Chargers. They're supposed to be getting their new stadium, right? That new stadium that they built out in L.A. That they're going to be sharing with the Rams, I guess, is looking really nice. Like, I saw a video of it the other day, and it's crazy good. So maybe that's a motivation for them to be playing there, and they'll pick up the fan base that they ended up losing because they switched out of Qualcomm in San Diego. Who knows? The NFL this year is, my hope really is that the Chargers do well, because that is my team. And we see Jacksonville, we see the Bengals, and we see Dallas do well. And I honestly think that we'll probably see that. But for the week right now, I'm going to cut it there. If you guys do like the content, like, subscribe, and follow. I will keep you updated on the new interface, if it does and when it is released, and how it is. I'll probably screencast one of these episodes, going through it, just looking at some stuff and talking through it, just to help, maybe a guy out there who is listening to this, who is an existing friend in the company, who knows. And may the odds always be in your favor. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to the Reds Reviews podcast, brought to you by BossAction.com. Opinions expressed on this show are not the opinions of BossAction.com. And again, any promos or relative information about this company, please check them out at BossAction.com. And we'll see you next week. We hope you have a great one, and thank you for tuning in.